Hey, deserving listeners, it's time to continue our journey with The Bachelor. Listen to your heart. My name is Dr. Kirk Honda. I'm a therapist and a professor, and I'm going to react to this TV show and see if anything of interest comes out of my face so that you can benefit from the things that come out of my face. That's phrasing.
I'm sorry.
What?
I just was able to figure out, what I needed to know.
What'd you need to know? What'd you figure out?
I don't know. After today, I feel like I can't.
Can't what?
I don't know why you're being so mean about
I'm
him.
sorry. This has been a really rough day.
What? Was he being mean? I mean, maybe my perception is weird, but she's giving every sign like she's going to break up with him. And she's stringing it out in the beginning, which is okay. And he is also being like, okay, so get to the point. I hear some bomb coming. Tell me the bomb. And he wasn't even being a jerk. And then I thought she was being sarcastic in that moment because I thought he was being super nice. I thought she was being sarcastic by saying, why are you being so mean, as a joke? But she actually meant that.
I know, and I'm sorry.
I'm sorry. I'm okay. I'll take a second. I'm sorry. Okay. I don't mean to be mean.
It's so hard to know what to do.
So cringy. I don't know if this is happening, but is this fake? As a therapist, I don't look for that in people. People don't usually care to fake things in my office. But when I watch this show, I sometimes wonder, because it would be rough, right? You're in her position. What's her name again? I can't keep any of these people's names straight. Julia, I do that. And for her, she's like, you know what? I went on this other date with this other guy. I felt like we had a connection. And you know what? I'm not into Sheridan. He's a nice guy. We had something kind of, so now I've got to go back and break up with Sheridan. Okay, what do I do? Well, it's going to be on camera. If I break up in a way, I'm going to be the bad guy because I think everyone loves Sheridan, and the internet's going to hate me if I don't somehow come across like a good person breaking up with a good person instead of a bad person breaking up with a good person. So how do I do that? Well, if I cry a lot, then maybe I will come across like I'm a good person breaking up with a good person. I can't know if she's faking this, but it certainly doesn't look super genuine. I don't know. Let's watch the rest of this.
I just feel like I don't think I can do this with you.
Then I wish you the best with Brandon. Thanks.
You're seriously just gonna walk away after that?
What? What? Julia seemed like a level-headed person up until this moment. What are you doing? You just dumped him. And he's starting to cry, and he wishes you the best and gets up and walks away because he's probably has a lot of things to figure out. Plus, he might be picking up on the fact that it kind of looks like you're putting on a show. I don't want to accuse her of that, but it kind of looks like you're trying to act like you care when maybe you don't really care. He's not getting upset. She's already accused him of being mean because he's like, okay, get to the point. And then now she's yelling at him. You're really going to get up? Okay, so why would someone do that? Why would someone do that? Well, this show doesn't give us a lot to go off of, so I'll speculate. So what are we seeing? Let's just look at the behavior and try to guess at what emotional feelings are going on for her in this moment. So she has to break up with him. nothing strange about that. She's discovered that she's not into Sheridan, and she wants to be honest about it. So she's gearing up for that. There's a lot of difficulty for her. There's two main factors that I think are at play. Speculation. One is just genuinely feeling bad for Sheridan and feeling guilty for having to break up with him. Another one is, holy crap, this is going to be on television, and how do I come out of this looking okay in the situation? And if you have issues from your past, relational issues that are creating some complexes, one could, I don't know about her, but speculation, one could have a lot of self-concern, a lot of focus on, well, how am I going to look through this process? How am I going to deal with this? What are my feelings right now? I think I have cat hair on my face. Sometimes that happens, and it's a constant itch. So one might, because of relational traumas, because they weren't given enough love and attention growing up, they tend to see the world from their own point of view and have a hard time seeing the world from other people's point of view. Not because they can't, but because they're too distracted from their own point of view, because no one paid attention to their point of view when they were growing up, and someone had to pay attention to their point of view. And so one could go into a scenario like this very focused on one's own feelings and one's own goals and one's own emotions and one's own experience. And you sit down and you're thinking, okay, well, the cameras are there. I got to make sure I do this. I got to make sure I do that. And then, okay, I'm going to lay it out there, but I'm not really thinking about the other person's feelings. I'm not really in the mentalization zone of like, what's going on for Sheridan right now? How is he feeling? What can I do to make this go as well for him as possible? I'm more concerned about what's happening for me, the cameras, my emotions. This is hard for me. So you can imagine someone in that zone feeling like they were the victim of this situation, where it was like, this is really hard for me right now. It's really hard for me to break up with you right now. And my emotions are very, very important. And because no one made me feel important growing up, so I need to make sure that I make them important, and I need to make sure everyone else makes them important. Well, that's going to distract you to the fact that other people have emotions too sometimes. And so your empathy is going to be impaired. And I want people to learn that word, because a lot of people on the internet, most people, 99% of people on the internet, will say that person doesn't have empathy. Very few individuals lack empathy. Your empathy can be impaired by some defense that is distracting you from your empathy, or distracting you from outside input that would engage your empathy. So anyway, you would be very focused on your own experience and your own emotions, and the fact that the cameras are watching you, and you're really struggling and you're having emotions, and that's all that you can see. You break up with someone, and then he gets up and walks away. It could feel very rejecting in that moment. There's a little bit of a rejection. It's like, okay, I'm gonna walk away. Now, from her perspective, again, because of this distraction to the outside world, she might not have noticed that he was about to cry. She might not have noticed that he was really struggling. And he gets up and walks away, and then that irrationally gets to her and feels rejecting to her in that moment. Perhaps triggering past traumas where she's been rejected early in life, which would necessitate and engender the self-centeredness that one might develop. And then the hurt happens, and then the secondary emotion of anger happens, of like, how you're just going to walk away from me? You're just going to reject me? Again, that self-centeredness of, wait, I'm not the focus right now. He just got dumped, and he has emotions, and he has feelings, and he's going through something really difficult right now. I am too, but probably more him. He probably is going through more than I am. I can't diagnose from afar. I have no idea. I'm speculating. As I always say, everything I'm saying is based on very little information. It's unethical for me to diagnose from afar. I'm not diagnosing from afar, as you can tell. While I'm on the subject, subscribe, hit the bell below. comment below. What do you think about my conceptualization of this? Have you experienced someone like her? Have you been like her in the past? Also, become a patron on Patreon and subscribe to the podcast on your phone because we have over 1,000 episodes that you can listen to. All right, let's continue to see what she does from this point forward.
Julia, what am I supposed to do at this point? Like, you just told me you don't think you can do this with me.
Okay, that's fine.
No, like, what else could I do? To hear you say you don't think you can do this with me. I've done my best. I've done what I can. I've put myself out there, and clearly it's not enough.
I know it's not what you want to hear, but I do care about you.
Okay, so that's a good thing to say. I do care about you. That's nice. He's hurt, and he is laughing that off because it might be hard to hear that. So, we'll see how this goes.
I don't want to have this conversation if you're just going to laugh at everything I say.
No, but it's...
So again, if you weren't so focused on yourself, you would recognize that he is in a very, very difficult situation. He's being dumped on international television, and he's hurt. And he might have in his mind written a future of the two of you together, living your lives together, buying a house, having kids, touring the world musically. I suspect he actually did have some of those dreams. And this is very hard for him. And so when you say some things like, I know that you don't want to hear this, but I really care for you, and he gets a sarcastic anger laugh response to that, it's totally understandable. So, she comes across like, so let's just look at the facts. She's breaking up with him, okay? That's a fact. And yet it's about her feelings and not about his feelings. That's how it feels to me. Now, again, we don't just point the finger and say, yeah, you're a terrible person. We have a conceptualization. What traumas would result in someone having problems mentalizing or having empathy about what's going on in someone else's head? Arrested development, abuse growing up so that part of your emotional radar is stunted at a younger age when you aren't really required or expected to really imagine what's going on in other people's minds. Injustices that you might have had happen to you where you kind of close yourself off from even considering other people's feelings because no one considers your feelings. I don't know. But we certainly see a pattern here. Now Sheridan is in this position where he's trying to reach out to her, even though she's the one that has dumped him. There's nothing wrong with dumping someone. And I think she actually dumped him in the breakup section. I thought she did a pretty good job. She at least exhibited sadness, whether she actually was sad in her heart or not, I don't know. And she, it was really hard for her, and she did it in person. And so all those kinds of things I commend her for. But it's this extra stuff that I think is going to complicate things.
It's honestly just hard to hear anything from you right now. Like, this isn't easy. Like, I'm laughing so that I don't cry.
So there you go. You redeemed yourself, Sheridan. And Sheridan, think of all the wonderful breakup songs you're going to be able to write after this. The blossoming of art that will come from this moment for you. It's going to be amazing.
I'm sorry.
So, at the end there, I think they pulled it together, and I think that Julia was adequately empathic and caring in that moment. It still felt kind of focused on her experience rather than on him, and she could have reached out more and considered him more. I think that's just how I'm taking it. Why would someone do that? There's usually a good conceptualization. If we had the time to get to know her and her traumas and her patterns, we would probably know the answer to that. But of course we don't, because the show doesn't give us enough information.
There's always something better for amazing people like you. Do you believe me?
Nope.
It's all right.
Bree seems like a really good soul. She seems like a very genuine person. That's nice to see.
Have a healthy relationship with, and I thought I found somebody that might have been able to do that, but she wasn't the one.
When the bones are good.
Very healthy narrative that he is already developing just shortly after being broken up with. He says, I wanted a good relationship, and I guess she wasn't the one. Very uncomplicated, not a lot of piled on anger and bitterness that might get in the way of his future trust in other people. And that's great. Sheridan, I have no doubt you'll be fine in the future. You'll find your person and you'll be happy. I don't know why I'm saying that. I have no idea if that's true. I hope that's true. I hope that's true for you, Sarah Sheridan. I also don't fault Julia. I mean, the show is geared in a way where you suddenly meet all these people, and you also have to play this game of making sure you get roses and all this kind of stuff, and then you have moments where you're like, oh, maybe it would work with this person. I feel like I do have a connection with this person. Now, there's this whole drama with her because she actually liked a number of guys, at least 2 guys on this show, and so I'm guessing that the internet might hate her because of that reason. I don't know, but I think that's unfair. I think for any of us, if we were in her shoes, would be like, well, I like Sheridan. I have a connection with him. I also like this other guy. Many of us have been in that position before. In the real world, you date and you don't, you say, I'm not exclusive to you, by the way. I'm dating other people, and you go on a few dates with people without cameras around, and you figure out, is it going to be this one? Is it going to be that one? Or is it none of the above? And you don't get hated on the internet because you have to break up with someone. So, no harm, no foul. She thought she liked Sheridan, and then later she was like, no, I guess I don't. So, it happens.
I think that there must be something wrong with me. If I'm consistently not enough for the people that I'm with.
Heartbreaking. I don't know if you caught that, but he said, I'm not good enough. There's something about me that's not good enough. People keep breaking up with me. This is something that I hear from some people, that they believe that they always get friend zoned or something. And there is something to look into regarding that. It has nothing to do with someone's inherent worth or attractiveness, and might have something to do with the sort of people you choose to date or the people you choose to chase. There is something to look into. I've worked with clients on this question before. Why do I keep being friend zoned? It's a complicated question, and it never has anything to do with someone's inherent worth, which is what people go to. I'm ugly, I'm not tall enough, I don't make enough money, these kinds of things. Empirically, that doesn't make any sense when you look at the way romance and marriage works. That not having a lot of money doesn't prevent anyone from having a romantic long-term experience. So it's usually something else, and that is worth looking at. Again, just common things that we might find are the sort of people you choose, the way you relate when you actually do date someone. There are ways in which your desperation, because you're so worried about not being good enough, the desperation and the anxiety that you feel in relation to that person can actually push the other person away. Because if you're in a constant state of anxiety of losing them, then the other person, it's hard for them to reach you. They might actually want to reach you, but the anxiety gets in the way, and then they friend zone you because they don't feel the spark, but they might not feel the spark because the anxiety is getting in the way. Those are just some of the possibilities. There's others, but there's something to look at. If you're one of those people out there who have been perpetually friend zoned, as I think he is claiming, there's a road. Go to therapy, people. Go to therapy with someone who understands this sort of thing. Not every therapist does. So call them on the phone. Ask them a couple questions. What would you do if I was constantly friend zoned? And hear a response. And if it makes sense to you, try them out for a few sessions. If it goes well, continue it. If it doesn't, try out a new therapist. Sometimes it takes a while to find the right person. So Sheridan, I hope you're in therapy. And if you're not, I hope you go to therapy, because it breaks my heart that you think you're not good enough. That's awful.
I think that's what gets to me. I don't know.
All right, well, that does it for that heartbreaking episode of The Bachelor. Join me next time when we continue to watch the remaining couples in the mansion. And please take care of yourself and go to therapy, because you deserve it. You really, really do.